So picture this. It's the 2026 Winter Olympics, and one of the greatest skiers in history is attempting a comeback that seems, well, impossible. But what happened on that mountain wasn't really a story of victory or defeat. It was a story about the very nature of courage itself.
And to really get a sense of how heavy this moment was, just listen to the raw emotion from the live broadcast. That was BBC commentator and former Olympian Kemi Alcott, and you can just hear the shock in her voice, a shock that was felt by millions watching around the world.
Okay, so what actually went down on that course? Let's take a closer look at the moment that brought the entire Olympics to a standstill.
Here are the facts. We're at the 2026 Winter Olympics. It's the women's downhill final. Lindsey Vonn, at 41 years old, crashes just seconds into her run. The race stops, medical staff rushes in, and ultimately she's airlifted off the mountain. It just left this stunned silence over the whole event.
But see, to really understand the weight of that crash, we have to rewind a little bit. We need to look at why this one single race was getting so much attention, even before she was in the starting gate. This wasn't just another competition. It was supposed to be the final chapter of an absolutely incredible story.
And to understand that story, you need to know this number 82. That is Lindsey Vonn's all-time record for women's World Cup victories. It's the number that cements her status as, you could argue, the greatest female ski racer in the history of the sport.
And that number 82, it's really just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, look at this career. She has an Olympic gold medal, she's a 4-time overall World Cup champion, and she holds a record 20 Crystal Globes. Plus, she's one of only 6 women ever to win in all 5 disciplines of alpine skiing, which just shows you how dominant she was.
So after all that, she retires in 2019, mostly due to injuries that just wouldn't quit. And for 6 years, that was it. The story was over. So for her to come back at age 41, which is way, way beyond the typical peak for a downhill skier, it was something nobody in the sport had ever really seen before. But her comeback wasn't just about defying her age. It was about overcoming a staggering history of physical setbacks. The fact that she was even standing in that starting gate is, frankly, kind of a miracle.
Just look at this timeline. It really shows the battle she's been fighting for years. It goes all the way back to 2013 with a huge crash that wrecked her right knee and knocked her out of the 2014 Olympics. Then, after she retired, she gets a partial knee replacement in 2024, which amazingly gives her another shot. But then, and this is the crazy part, just weeks before these Olympics, she tears the ACL in her other knee and decides to compete anyway.
So you have to ask, where does that kind of determination even come from? Well, in our own words, a huge part of it was for her late mother. She explained that her mom had a stroke and never got the chance to physically recover. Vonn felt like it was her responsibility to use her own body to push it to the limit, to fight back in a way her mom never could.
Okay, so that brings us right back to that mountain. With that incredible history of injuries and that deep personal motivation, what on earth was going through her mind as she prepared for this one last fateful run?
Well, she wasn't fooling herself. She posted this right before the race, and she laid it all out there. The odds were stacked against her. Her age, no ACL in one knee, a titanium knee in the other. But despite all of that, the message was simple. She still believed.
And this right here is the crucial part. She had already decided what winning meant to her. Before she even left the gate, she made it clear that a victory wasn't going to be about a medal. The victory was just being there, having the guts to try one more time. And then, the race began, and it was over almost before it even started. Just 13 seconds in, it looks like she barely clips a gate pole, but at those speeds, the tiniest touch can be catastrophic. It just threw her completely off balance, sent her into a violent twist, and she went down hard. The crash itself was just heartbreaking to watch. But the fact that she was even on that mountain, well, that's a testament to some pretty incredible medical science. So, how was this comeback even physically possible? The real key was this procedure from 2024, a partial knee replacement. Now, this isn't like a total replacement. The surgery only targets the part of the knee that's damaged. By preserving all the healthy parts, it allows for a much, much higher level of function. Enough, in her case, to actually make a return to elite-level skiing a real possibility.
And really, what happened with Vonn's knee kind of shows you how much sports medicine has evolved. The old way of thinking was that a massive injury was just a career ender. That's it. But today, the focus is more on managing all the stress on an athlete's body over their entire career. It's about preserving joints and constantly rehabbing, which can extend careers that in the past would have been long over.
So, after the crash, after the airlift, what's the ultimate takeaway? What is the legacy of this final, dramatic attempt? How is it going to be remembered?
You know, her biggest rival and teammate, Michaela Schifrin, probably said it best. She pointed out that Vonn's greatness in that moment wasn't about her speed, it was about her tenacity and grit. It was about showing up and staying true to herself. You could just feel the respect from one legend to another.
And it wasn't just other athletes saying that. The media saw it the exact same way. As The Guardian put it, the real meaning here was never going to be about what place she finished. The story was always about her decision to stand in that start gate one last time.
So in the end, the whole story it shifted. It stopped being about the result on a scoreboard, and it became about something more fundamental, something really honest about sports. That there is a profound honor in just having the courage to try, especially when the odds feel impossible.
And that kind of leaves us with a final question to think about. How do we really measure an athlete's career? Is it just about the number of trophies they have? Or is it maybe about the resilience it takes to fight through all the pain and all the doubt just to get to that starting line one last time?